This woman attempted to poison a man with the intention of killing him before stealing his finances. Her strategy was to pour daily doses of bleach into his coffee. Druggings and robbings are happening everywhere, and this isn't just another Colombia story where the audience like to bash the victim, as the victim in this instance is actually her husband, who is living in the United States. He was literally living and sleeping with the enemy. And so his suspicions regarding the taste of his coffee were correct. And so thankfully, he decided to investigate further and do something about it. So this is the story of Medellin Johnson and how she was finally brought to justice. And so welcome, this is a crazy story. On one hand you have Robbie Johnson, the victim, and on the other hand you have Medellin Johnson, the wife who tried to drug and rob her husband. Let's get into it. And so it starts in Germany. The year is 2023, and the Johnson family have relocated for a short while from the United States to one of the American Air Force bases in Germany. The reason for this relocation is that this is where Air Force man Robbie Johnson was mandated to serve his country as part of the United States Air Force. He will also travel with his Filipina-American wife, Melody Feliciano Johnson. And so this is where the story gets a little bit more interesting. And according to court documents, from about March 23rd, he started realizing that the coffee tasted really bad, incredibly bad. And so he faked drinking this coffee for about 2 to 3 weeks and started making his own investigations. In the first couple of weeks, Robbie Johnson was confused as he continued drinking the coffee, only to spit it out and continuously clean the coffee maker. He thought that something was possibly wrong with the water, and so he decided to buy chlorine strips to test it. And so Robbie Johnson started to proceed with these tests. Realizing that nothing was wrong with the water, he started to soon suspect his wife, especially as they were now going through marital problems. After conducting all the tests and still confused regarding what could be causing this bad taste in coffee, Robbie Johnson, suspecting foul play, will set up secret cameras in his apartment in Germany to understand what was happening. And so after setting up the cameras in his apartments in Germany, he just couldn't believe what was happening. It was incredible what he saw. He will find that his wife, Melody Johnson, had a very keen interest with the coffee making machine. And almost daily, she would pour an unknown liquid into the coffee making machine. She would then check that the contents of this liquid are mixed incorrectly into the coffee maker. Robbie Johnson, her husband, couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. And so Robbie Johnson, he just couldn't believe what he'd just seen on the video. He knew that him and Melody were going through problems, but he just never imagined that she'll actually try to poison him, to kill him. And so he kept pretending as if he was drinking the coffee and gathered more evidence. His whole thing was to gather as much evidence against Melody and hopefully bring her to justice when they return back to the United States. And so once again, Melody Johnson would be caught playing around with the coffee making machine. She was doing this almost daily, and so at this point it became very clear that she had the intentions of poisoning Robbie Johnson. But he just wasn't going to take it lying down. He was a very smart guy, and so he started doing his own tests to determine what was exactly in that liquid that his wife was pouring into the coffee maker. And so, to gather as much evidence as possible, Robbie Johnson will start documenting evidence that his wife was trying to poison him and possibly kill him. He will carry out tests using chlorine strips to demonstrate that the water from the faucet or tap was in good condition and didn't contain any foreign chemicals. But each day after changing the water in the coffee making machine, he realized that its chemical components had changed after subsequent tests. And so at this point, it was very clear to see that it had been his wife, Medellin Johnson, who had been tampering and introducing a foreign liquid into the coffee making machine. While in Germany, he will conduct further tests, all proven positive for a bleaching agent. Believing that he had enough evidence, but not wanting to get caught up in the German legal system as an American, Robbie Johnson will wait until he returns back to the United States before taking any further action.
Just gotta catch it in the States.
3 months later, and back in the United States, it's July 2023, and Medellin Johnson is still up to no good. Now back in the United States, and with his coffee still tasting really bad, Robbie Johnson was now more determined than ever to bring his wife Medellin Johnson to justice and gather as much evidence as possible, and that's exactly what he did. And so the following shocking sequences were captured by cameras set up by Robbie Johnson. Everything seems normal as Medellin Johnson appears to be a good housewife by completing the household chores, and shortly she will take a break by drinking some water. She would then pour herself an additional cup of water before walking towards the kitchen sink area. Confused, as if she's almost lost her train of thought, Medellin Johnson would pace up and down the kitchen, seemingly a bit restless. Still very fidgety and restless, Medellin Johnson will reach into the lower cabinet below the kitchen sink. She is doing something in which the cameras from this angle cannot clearly pick up. But with what appears to be a liquid in her hand, Medellin Johnson will now pour this liquid into the coffee making machine once again. And just for good luck, she will then pour this liquid a second time into the coffee making machine. She will then clean the coffee making machine and the surrounding area to ensure that any evidence against her is clear. On another night, Medellin Johnson looks inquisitively into the coffee making machine, and once again she will reach below the kitchen sink into the cabinet where she will prepare the poison for her husband Robbie Johnson. This poison appears to be a Clorox bleach bottle as she places it back into the cabinet. While holding the bleach in her cup, she would then smell it before muttering a few words to herself, almost like a satanic prayer. And then once again, she walks towards the coffee making machine and does the unthinkable. And so once again, while his wife is away, in detective mode, Robbie Johnson would, look for further evidence to see exactly what his wife was up to. He would then check the coffee making machine and then will routinely, using his cell phone, record evidence of the different parts of the puzzle, all with the objective of presenting the evidence to the police so that Melody Johnson can finally be brought to justice. Again, another reading proving that bleach was in his coffee. And so according to Robbie, he just couldn't understand why his wife was doing all of this. Like, possibly it was linked to his life insurance policy, but he just couldn't understand why she was trying to drug him with bleach. And so on another occasion, again, Melody Johnson is witness caught on camera as she reaches below the kitchen sink cabinet and pulls out a bottle of Clorox bleach. Once again, she will pour this into the coffee making machine. The intention to poison Robbie Johnson is almost now becoming a regular event for Melody Johnson, as she is hell-bent and intent on possibly killing him. And so, following her routine, she will then add another cup of the bleach into the coffee maker. And so with all the evidence that Robbie was able to gather, it became really clear that, she wanted him dead, or she wanted to do serious bodily harm to him. And so he just,
Tonight's the night I caught her on video. So let's test this water. It's gonna be purple. Boom. I knew it.
Robbie Johnson would then conduct further tests and gather further evidence, and he was sure and clear that he had gathered enough evidence which was suitable to be presented to the police. And so later that month, he will ride down to the Tucson Police Department, where he will speak to two detectives, providing them with the evidence that he had collated. However, the detectives will review the video camera images and relate to Robbie that the evidence provided was inconclusive because it didn't clearly show what Melody was pouring into the coffee making machine. Incredible, completely incredible. If this was Colombia and video evidence of a drugging and robbing was dismissed by police, everybody would just say, oh, police are corrupt in Colombia. But the truth is that police being incompetent happens everywhere. So Robbie Johnson would purchase clearer cameras disguised as fire alarms ready for Melody Johnson. And he would place these cameras in different rooms and keep one focused on the coffee making machine. And in very clear video footage, it is clear to see exactly what Melody Johnson has been doing. As she pours bleach into a tiny glass bottle. She then walks through the kitchen area as she heads towards the coffee making machine, pouring the bleach into the coffee maker, hoping that Robbie Johnson will drink it. And so this is why these cases are so difficult to prosecute, because even with video evidence, it's so difficult to prove what they actually put in your drink. And if the person has a great lawyer, they get it off. But luckily, Robbie, he was able to put the camera on top of, the coffee making machine. Robbie would then check the coffee making machine once again and collate further evidence. This time, he was determined to collect as much evidence as possible and clear video footage of Melody's crimes. On his phone, he would document all his findings. He was no longer under an illusion of what was happening to him. It was very clear that his wife wanted him gone. As he ponders his next move, he will record further video evidence showing the bleach bottle that is being used to poison him.
Like I do every day, I clean this thing out after I test it. This back is very slippery right now from after I rinsed. It smells like bleach. Looks like the bleach has a new location. That purple lid is now over here. Let's see what it smells like. No smell. Doesn't smell.
Robbie Johnson would then demonstrate the evidence of bleach in the coffee making machine.
Today's the strongest it's been. I've been rinsing it out at least 7-8 times. It's still very salty, bubbly, soapy. She was off today. She didn't work. Today's the most that I'm having to clean it. Whatever's in there, there's a lot of it.
As he pours water into the coffee making machine, it is very clear to see that it's foaming with bubbles. And so after installing the new cameras, it appears as if Robbie Johnson now has enough evidence. And so finally, Robbie Johnson, believing that he had enough video footage evidence, will collate all evidence against Melody and present it to the police. She was immediately arrested. However, she will request her right to an attorney, refusing to speak without one. For her, the jig is up, and her deception and callousness has finally been uncovered for the world to see. For whatever reason, for months she had been pouring liquid bleach into the coffee maker of her husband Robbie Johnson, with the intention to cause serious harm or even to kill him. And now justice had finally caught up to her, and with the evidence provided, there is no doubt that she should be locked away for life. As the criminal case against Melody Johnson proceeds, and after awaiting trial in custody for nearly 1 year, Melody Johnson and her attorney would like to make a plea bargain.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Johnson. If you heard, I don't know if you were in here when I introduced myself to the last defendant. I'm Judge Johnson. I'm covering this division because Judge DeJoy retired. So can you tell me your true name and your date of birth, please?
Your Honor, my name is Melody Johnson.
And what's your date of birth?
March 30, 1984.
Do you read and understand English?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, Ms. Johnson, the plea agreement that I've been handed indicates that you are considering pleading guilty today to amended count 2 and amended count 3. Both of those are adding poison or harmful substance to food or drink, which is a Class 6 designated felony. Is that your understanding of what you're here to do today?
Yes, ma'am.
And so, hoping to end this nightmare and hopefully get a lower sentence, Melody Johnson is now trying to get an agreement with the state where she's basically going to admit to drugging her husband, Robbie Johnson.
As to amended count 2, on July 11th, Melody intended to harm Robbie by introducing a trace amount of bleach, which is a chemical compound, into the water reservoir of his coffee maker, which Robbie then later intended to drink. And that happened here in Pima County, excuse me. And as to count 3, the same thing happened on July 18th here in Pima County.
Ms. Johnson, you just heard what your attorney told me. Are those things true?
Yes, ma'am.
So you did those things? Is that yes?
Yes, ma'am.
It's ironic that she has a smile on her face as she admits to trying to poison her husband, which is no laughing matter. But it just goes to show you how heartless some of these people can be. Melody Johnson is then taken back into custody as she awaits sentencing. I mean, in court, she just didn't look remorseful at all. She looked more sorry she'd been caught. As part of the sentencing, her attorney will make a diabolical argument on behalf of Melody, claiming that the bleach wasn't as dangerous as perceived.
For several months, the state perpetuated a narrative claiming Robbie Johnson was given a lethal dose of bleach. And I have that written here in quotes in my notes. This was false based on a number of things that were true both now and when this case was indicted. And that's why I supplied you with the poison control call as well as our chemist's report.
Absolute craziness to suggest that ingesting bleach is non-lethal. If this was Colombia and this had happened to a gringo, I know my audience, they'll be like, corruption.
We are asking the court to consider a time-served sentence. Melody Johnson has been in custody for nearly a year with no meaningful opportunity for release. She's been held on a $250,000 bond. We also welcome probation, but we do not believe that more time incarcerated is appropriate.
And so, as the judge listens intently to the final statements and arguments made by Melody's attorney, he now must make a decision as to the severity of Melody's punishment for trying to poison her husband. And so now Melody's finally brought to justice, but I was completely shocked with what the judge did next.
This time the court enters the following finds. The court finds an aggravation. There was emotional harm to the victim. The court finds a mitigation. The defendant accepts responsibility. She expressed remorse in her letter. Given all that's before me, would be the sentence of the court that she be placed on 3 years of probation, the terms to be concurrent with each other, to begin on today's date, May 10th, 2024.
Unbelievably, the judge has let Melody go free, only to serve probation for 3 years. It appears that she will face no real consequences for trying to poison her husband.
Is there a divorce case pending?
There is.
Or they would have to have contact?
They are both represented by attorneys.
Right, so we'll just show they're not to have contact, or she's not to have contact with him unless it's in a legal context.
Sure.
She's to participate in mental health evaluation and follow any recommended treatment.
And so this should be a reminder that not all stories have a happy ending, and one should always be aware of the environment and their situation, their partner, and the friends and the people that they invite into their lives. Whether you're here in the United States or in Colombia, you must always pay attention to your surroundings, because the law and justice may not always save you. Melody Johnson has since divorced from her ex-husband Robbie Johnson, and to her name will always be attached an attempt to poison her partner using bleach. And so with that said, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to your circle before they hurt you. Not all our videos are monetized, and some have even been removed for being too real. And so if you like what we're doing, you can make a donation via Super Chat, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. If you've been affected by anything in this documentary, you can also book a consultation with us to get some advice.